Oh man, do we have some Spider-Man news to talk about today. So last night I was at work on my lunch break, right? And I was scrolling through Twitter and came across this post from this potentially new scooper on the scene who claims to have an inside source at Marvel. And then he went to go and proceed to say that Sydney Sweeney had been cast as Black Cat, Felicia Hardy, in Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4. So let's dive into this and have a little discussion. All right, so it's no secret that Sydney Sweeney has been the talk of the town lately. Recently in Sony's Madam Web, and then also in the recently released horror movie Immaculate. She's been an uproaring star in the industry. And you know what, to be frank, I actually have not seen not one of her movies. Honestly, until she was cast in Madam Web, I didn't even know who she was. But that's not to say that the public doesn't love her. Let's face it, she's everywhere right now. And if you've been on Twitter, you know what I mean. But I have heard good things about her acting ability. Even some reviewers that I've seen went as far to say that her and the other ladies were some of the most enjoyable parts of the Madam Web movie. And I also did hear some pretty good things about the Immaculate movie as well. But back to the juice. So this new scooper, Austin Verse, came out and said, breaking news. Sydney Sweeney has been cast as Black Cat Felicia Hardy in Spider-Man 4 starring Tom Holland. She will be the main love interest for the movie, but Zendaya will slowly remember who Peter is. The love triangle will happen with MJ and Felicia. Black Cat and her father will have a past with Kingpin. Felicia wants revenge. And now before we go any further, I want to take a second to say to take this with a grain of salt. This is a scooper who is new to the space, clearly trying to get his name out there. And I'm not going to say that he's lying, but people get things wrong and things could definitely change from now to when the movie releases. I will say though, there are two things that make me question this supposed leak. One being the fact that Sydney Sweeney was in Madam Web in Sony's universe. That movie failed miserably. It's been very obvious that Marvel and Feige does not want to be a part of Sony's universe. So I do find it a little bit weird that they would cast her in the main MCU proper. And secondly, this guy is claiming to have an inside source at Marvel. Now that may be true, but remember that these Spider-Man films are all in contract under Sony, not Marvel. Now, because they are collabing and working together, it's not far-fetched to say that Marvel would know certain things and have some input, but like Tom Holland's contract is under Sony, not Marvel. So I don't know if Marvel would yet have this information, especially when we don't even have a director announced for this movie yet, but I'm also not in that space, so I can't say for sure. But if this is correct, and if this is something real, this is very interesting. There is already so much speculation that's surrounding Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4, especially after the recent negotiations between Sony and Marvel, mainly in regards to what they wanted to do with the movie and also when they want to release the movie. But the thing that we keep hearing is that Sony wants to do things a little bit more multiversal, whereas Marvel wants to keep things grounded, potentially having Spider-Man and Daredevil team up against Wilson Fisk. Now, the incorporation of Black Cat is interesting, especially with her having a personal vendetta against Fisk. I think this adds a lot to the movie, and not just by introducing a well-loved character in Black Cat, but this also gives potential for further development for Peter, because no doubt Black Cat is going to want to kill Fisk, and Tom Holland's Spider-Man will be able to reflect on the feelings that he had for Green Goblin, maybe be able to connect to her on that type of level, but also be able to use what Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker was able to teach him in a way to maybe try to steer Felicia into the right direction. Now, when it comes to this love triangle that Austin does mention, I also think that that could be an interesting part of the movie. I know a lot of fans would prefer that MJ didn't figure out who Peter was again, or at least not so soon, and be able to give room for a new love interest like Gwen Stacy or Black Cat. Me though, I don't really mind. MJ in the MCU Spider-Man trilogy has been able to show that she is a very clever individual. So it's not really hard for me to believe that she can yet again figure out who Spider-Man is. But I will say, I don't want it to happen all in one movie. I don't want her to figure it out that fast. And I say figure it out because I think that that's how it's gonna happen. I don't think that she's gonna magically just remember who Peter is again. And I don't think that the spell is gonna be reversed in any type of way. I think that Peter's gonna pretty much start from scratch and try to win her over again, get to know her again. And through that process, she'll be able to figure out who Spider-Man is. And I wouldn't mind that. And also it'll be interesting to see if Peter falls for them both. Maybe he wants to be with MJ, but he likes the fact that he doesn't have to hide who he is around Felicia. One more thing to add to this too. On top of the report of Sydney Sweeney being Black Cat, Austin Verse also goes to say, Sydney Sweeney's Black Cat costume will look similar to the suit in the Insomniac Spider-Man games. more tactile and stealthy instead of the revealing comic book costumes. Now that to me, that's cool. I'm not really tripping about that. I don't think it's a big deal. I think that the costume in the game, it looked fine. It was a good costume and it was still able to give this sexy yet badass vibe to the character. So I really don't think that it's a big deal. But so far, that is what we have for the information. Like I said, take this with a grain of salt. Scoopers get things wrong, things change. And we are so far away from this movie's release that even if this guy did get this information from an insider at Marvel, things could definitely change by the time this movie is released. Hell, it could even change by the time this movie starts filming, which is set to be in the fall, by the way. I forgot to mention that. And Austin, I'll be keeping my eye on you. But we will see. I think it could be a fun aspect to introduce into the film, seeing this dynamic on the big screen that people have loved for years in the comics and in the video games. I am curious to know how you guys feel about this. Do you like the idea of Sydney Sweeney being Black Cat, or is there someone else that you prefer that you would rather see? Do you care that they might lean towards the game as far as her costume goes, or would you have preferred that they would have stayed a little more comic accurate? Let me know in the comments below. If you don't have anything in the comments, put down an emoji for the engagement or something. And if you made it to the end of this video, hit the like button. It's much appreciated and it helps out the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button too so you can stay updated with the videos. Check out the socials. They'll be linked in the description below. And you know what? Come by the Twitch. I stream 2-3 days a week. We can always talk some movie news and see what's going on in there. I'm gonna dip out. Y'all be smooth. Have a good one. And remember, stay geeked up.